Peace. So this is an open letter that I sent to a few Moorish women who claim to be black and whatever they claim. But I sent this letter to them regarding the Rise of the Moors organization and some of the things that we've done and been through, especially with reference to the FBI unlawfully investigating us, which the FBI have no treaty jurisdiction to investigate anymore. And I'll go into some of that in this letter. And you'll see that I literally just sent it. It says 5/11/2020 at 4:38. It's 4:51, 5/11/2020. And in this, I have, I sent them a copy of this letter from the state of Georgia, which this one is the original. And I just sent them a scanned copy. And then I also scanned the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. I scanned the Congressional Globe regarding the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections stating that the descendants of Africans are not citizens of the United States. So even if they don't want to recognize us as Moors, if they want to recognize us as descendants of Africans and descendants of slaves, even so, we're still not citizens of the United States. So they still have to recognize us as a separate nation. As well as the proceedings and debates of the 90th Congress, First Session, Volume 113, Part 12 of June 12, 1967, page 15641, stating that the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional. So I sent that to them as well. And I'll be going over this right now. And this is just the certified mail receipt that I sent it to the Congresswomen. So this is just the cover page certifying that this was in two originals. I sent them the one with the red ribbon. And this is the other original, my copy, sent on the 9th day of Ramadan, which that's when I wrote it, but I sent it today. So, just so you know. And then I put in the note that, and of course I sealed it. I bonded it, right? I bonded the document, and then I sealed it. So it's an official document, Right? So I address it to the Congresswoman. I say who I am, and then I'm going to try to read it and record at the same time. So I say, of course, peace. It brings me great pleasure to extend an open hand and friendly lines of communication with the honorable representatives of Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, right? Sorry. I am Jamoti Abdullah Bey, chairman and co-founder of the Rise of the Moors Incorporated, a nonprofit civic organization and political subdivision of the Moorish Nation. What has encouraged me to send this peaceful line of communication was inspiration derived from your address to the House of Representatives on the assassination of Fred Hampton by the FBI and Chicago police. Before I get into some of the unfortunate events and attacks that our organization has been subject to, I would first like to give you an introduction as to who we are. All right, Moorish American is the true national identity of the native inhabitants of South Central America and the adjoining islands, who have been branded Negroes, Blacks, Coloreds, Indians, West Indian, Latinos, Jamaicans, Dominicans, and other things, right? As stated by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Al-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali, the people of America who are ancient Canaanite and Moabite descendant are all one people, bearing one free national name. The very name American is derived from the phrase Al-Moroccan, meaning descendants of the Moors, which you can find this letter on riseofthemoors.org on our public information page. Just so you know, by no coincidence, many South American nation states display the Liberty Cap on their coat of arms, such as the Impregnable Republic of Haiti, Cuba, Colombia, Guatemala, and a few states in Brazil. This Liberty Cap not only displays the vigor and national fidelity of the South Americans who've successfully revolted against de facto democratic European colonial imperialism and gained self-autonomy, but it also links every nation back to her ancestral roots. The Phrygian cap is one name for this cap of freedom and is derived from the word Phrygia, a territory once under the imperial administration of the Muslim Moorish Empire. Phrygia is now modern-day Turkey. The Prime Minister of Turkey revealed to the world that Muslim seafarers arrived in America long before Christopher Columbus had any inclination of the existence of these shores. Ivan Urisko, a professor of the University of Rhode Island, in charge of a research team, discovered Quranic manuscripts that predate Columbus by at least 500 years. The Moors of North America are those Muslims and Moslems and ancient seafarers who have been traveling to and from the continents of the Americas and the shores of Africa long before our lands were colonized by any pale-skinned nations of Europe. International evidence of our great empire, travels, and dominion over the Americas is the Treaty of Amity and Commerce between the Almoroccan Empire and the colonial United States of 1786-1787. In this treaty, one will find that the various European nations forming the 13 colonies on North American soil paid tribute to our vast empire and at the time had no power to transport any Africans from that continent to the Americas. History shows the United States was desperately trying to raise enough finance to form a navy to end payments to our empire with the goal of waging war against us with other Christian powers, hence the Barbary Moorish wars of the 1800s, including Haiti's revolt. Right? Other sources of our vast empire lie within the historical period of diplomatic correspondences between England and Morocco of the 1600s. This period of time is known as the Anglo-Moroccan Alliance. As a result of this alliance, the Sultan of Morocco, Moulay Zidane, granted England free commerce within Moroccan dominions. This resulted in the charter issued by King James I and given to the freed inhabitants of the first free European colony in America, now known as Jamestown, Virginia. So King James spoke to our Sultan. That's why they named it Jamestown, Virginia. This history has been lost amongst many Moors, branded Negro, blacks, and coloreds. Our lost history is why Europeans have been administrating our lands via the estate principles of escheating, the feudal acts of conversion, and the vast miseducation of our people, which places us in a warship status. This disconnect is why, in 1886, the great universal creator Allah herself sent our patriot Drew Ali, who at the age of 16 traveled to Egypt and the holy city of Mecca, destined to be the first patriot of our newly risen nation of Moors, to redeem us from mental slavery, bring us back into the League of Nations, and take our place amongst the affairs of men. He was anointed Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali by the heads of Egypt and holy city of Mecca, returned to North America, Morocco, and began his missionary work. He established the Old Canaanite Temple in 1913, a civic organization at the age of 27, and the Moorish Holy Temple of Science in 1925. By 1928, he had not only established the Moorish Temple of America with over 30,000 members, with regencies throughout North America to help teach our people the things necessary to become better American citizens, enforce the Constitution and bring us from under the iron hand of the pale nations of Europe, but he also graciously attended the Pan-American Conference held at Havana, Cuba in 1928, was received with open arms, upheld and restored the honor of the Moors of North America. Due to the civic and national philosophies of self-determination, Noble Drew Ali, our great and illustrious prophet, inspired the Moors of Illinois to elect the first ever Moorish American national into the House of Representatives, Oscar the Priest. The Moors of Chicago were also fortunate enough to cast their own free national ballots to not only elect their own representative, but also place their own alderman in City Hall, Lewis B. Anderson. This exemplary example of unity and principles of nationality paved way for and embodied the principles of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People and states' obligations to recognize whomever we elect as our representatives. In fact, the civic engagement of the Moors under the sublime and prophetic leadership of our illustrious and noble prophet Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali resulted in the Moorish Temple of America's home office of 3410 Indiana Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, being written in history as a historical landmark. The Rise of the Moors organization was established to continue the works of our prophet and help treat the diversity of citizenship issue that our people are currently facing. Amongst many other things, our goals are to reclaim our national sovereignty by exercising the just sanguine and just solely rights of imperium vested in us and establish ourselves as well as a well-respected nation amongst the world by exercising our right to just post limine. At this time, we are considered a non-self-governing nation due to the fact that our country has been colonized and is under the colonial power of the de facto United States Corporation. See Title 28, Chapter 6, Subchapter 176, Subsection 3002, Number 15A of the United States Code. Despite fierce opposition and constant attacks on our nationals, we are doing what we can to rise in honor. Our prophet taught us that a beggar nation can never rise to their highest degree of spirituality, sovereignty, and freedom. Although we are not a beggar people, we are also not above extending our hands and reaching out to other nations and humbly asking for support in any manner possible. Amongst some of our aspirations as a people is national equality. We desire better homes for our women and children and a higher quality of education for our people taught by our people. For too long have the Moors of North America been trying to uplift ourselves as individuals, failing to see where there is unity, there is strength, strength to overcome the worst manifestations of poverty, strength to emerge triumphant in the most devastating situations, knowing that for once we are not alone. It seems as though the mainstream media, news, and social media seem to target division, social unrest, and things that bring harm. No people, civilized or not, can function without order, structure, and a system to correct its wrongs. Our prophet spoke of a free national government to do just that, establish order. We desire to imitate our prophet and continue to set the example to our men, women, and children in an upright manner, making their duty towards men clearly understood by accomplishing our goals and showing how our prophet's prophecies are within arm's reach. Our education and discipline is the key to counter emotional upheaval and civil unrest. My people, those who have been referred to as Black, African Americans, Negroes, and West Indians, know not where they are from due to a dark past of miseducation and mental slavery. There will come a time when they will take onto the streets in an attempt to end social, economic, national, and racial injustices, but at whom their energies will be directed is uncertain. This is self-evident in the many marches formulated by my people. Passions run high with no political aim, direction, guidance, or the gnosis to effectively achieve the goals that they are aiming for. Violence, rioting, theft, and unwarranted opposition is against any national standards of moral, ethical, or religious conduct. Men need a pattern for their lives. They love to follow, not to lead. Jor Ali has set a pattern for us to live by. We need every single one of our people who think their conditions could be better to be part of this movement where they see fit, can thrive, and exercise their skills for the betterment of the collective. Establishing lines of communications between your government and ours will indeed bring forth honorable people to help alleviate violence, bring forth peace, and end the national oppression of the Moors of North America. Just as the peoples of Cuba became heavily involved in supporting the nationalization movements of many countries such as Ghana, Nicaragua, Yemen, and Angola, so too does the Moorish nation need support from other countries. We follow our prophet to a simple destination, national freedom. It is necessary that with all men, besides our differences, national sovereign equality is at the forefront of all nations. We desire to end oppression in all its fashions and wherever it may reveal its ugly face. Equal protection for all under the law, regardless of national origin, religious creed, or gender, is the order of the free world. Our friendly relations and intercourse will pave the way for the future. Other nations have been making their mark on history, and the Moors of North America are making theirs. Many of our goals can be achieved with our national strength, but I know all of our goals cannot come to pass without other nations' involvement in some form or fashion. Our prophet states that the world may hear and know the truth that among the descendants of Africa, there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We as the clean and pure nation descend from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve their gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations, as it was prepared for their forefathers' earthly salvation. While we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great Allah, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days be longer upon the earthland which the Lord thy God hath given thee. Come, all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate, We're trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourselves with the families of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. The Moors of North America, having been disconnected from archaic foremothers and fathers, have much to learn from nation states such as Haiti, of course, and other nations. Together, we can make America a place of freedom. We are the rightful heirs apparent to the continent of North America, and we intend to raise back to our de jure capacity with the complete administrative control over our natural resources, land, and commerce. Attached are copies from the Library of Congress regarding the unconstitutionality of the 14th Amendment, copies from the state of Georgia recognizing Moors as Aboriginal and Indigenous to the Americas, as well as our separate theocratic government and recognizing our prophet. Also attached are several newspaper articles regarding our organization and an affidavit of fact, along with a writ of removal in regards to Rhode Island State Police breaking and entering into my home without a warrant. With all, due to our civic engagement and attempts to uplift our people, we have been subject to FBI investigation, unlawful arrest, and the unlawful possession of our property without just compensation, slander, harassment via phone calls made by the FBI, threats to be arrested by Pawtucket police detectives, unlawful issuance of colored warrants, and despite our standing treaty with the United States and the issue of diversity being primal in the court, we have been, via threat, duress, and coercion, summons into various state-level courts in violation of Article 3 and 6 of the Constitution for the United States of America and Articles 20 and 21 of our Peace and Friendship Treaty. I'm looking forward to your response, my signature, the date, etc. And this also accompanied the copies that I sent, a picture of Noble Drew Ali with Louis B. Anderson and Oscar the Priest. Noble Drew Ali in front of 3410 Indiana Avenue. A picture of me and Chief Justice Frank J. Williams. Picture of the Moors doing community outreach. Picture of the Moors with Councilwoman Carmen Castillo of Providence City Hall, which you can see. There's videos of us speaking to her. Us in front of the State House, just more pictures of us so the congresswomen know who we are. Know that I'm not just one person saying we, right? And then this is the congressional proceedings and debates of the 90th Congress, first session, volume 113, part 12, June 12, 1967, which this copy is from the certified copy that I have from Congress. Just so you see that, you know, it's not a, I didn't just make this up. Right. Well, first of all, this is from the Congressional Globe, which you'll see I put a copy of this in here as well. This is from the Congressional Globe, dealing with the Article 13, the 13th Amendment, right? And you'll see Section 12 right here. It says the traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein. And the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. So even if you think you're a Negro, black, and colored, you're still not a citizen of the United States. And this is from the Library of Congress Duplication Services. You can tell this is a three-dimensional seal with a ribbon with a wet ink signature. You can see that the pen was actually placed on the paper. This is not a copy. This is an original certified copy. I also have sent to the Congresswomen. This is multiple. I sent it to multiple people. I put a certified copy of the treaty, but since we're on this page, this is the Proceedings and Debates of the 90th Congress, First Session, Volume 113, Part 12, June 12, 1967. This, again, is a certified copy from Congress. Page 15641 states that the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional, which, if you research, you know, the Dred Scott case of 1865, it was stated that blacks shall never be citizens of the United States. Then after they assassinated Abraham Lincoln in 1868, they lied and said that the 14th Amendment was ratified and made black citizens. This is from 1967, stating that the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional. And then it gives several reasons why on the following page, as well as a list of states that rejected the 14th Amendment. Again, from the Library of Congress. And then I also have the treaty. This is the treaty with Tunis. I have the treaty somewhere. between the United States of America and the Moroccan Empire, so that you can see there is an issue of diversity here because we are two separate nations. Oh, this is a letter from George Washington to the Sultan of Morocco. Just as a side note. Oh, right here, it was on the front page. This is the treaty between the United States and the Emperor of Morocco. Again, sealed from the Library of Congress. And you'll see, established at Article 20 and 21, it speaks of the issue of diversity. Right here, 20 and 21, if any citizen of the United States or any persons under their protection shall have any disputes with each other, council shall decide between the parties. So that's dealing with civil issues. And then Article 21 is if a citizen of the United States shall kill or wound a Moor, or on the contrary, a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen. It also talks about councils having jurisdiction. So both civil and criminal issues between any citizen of the United States and any Moor is supposed to be dealt with on a treaty level, which when you read Article 3 of the Constitution and Article 6 of the Constitution, Article 6 makes treaties the supreme law of the land, and Article 3 of the Constitution gives the judicial power of the federal courts to deal with issues between states and citizens or subjects of foreign states, which is, again, diversity of citizenship. Right, so let me move this out the way. So that's what that is right here. That's what the following documents are. I just sent them copies of it so you can, just so you can see, just so they can see, really. Right? This one's the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections. This is the treaty. All right, so that's a few pages. It's very hard to do this with one hand. All right, still the treaty. I sent them the whole treaty, so there should be no questions. I'm sorry, this is very difficult to do. All right, that's all it is. And then this is the affidavit I wrote regarding the Rhode Island State Police coming to my home without a warrant, and of course lacking jurisdiction because I'm not a citizen of the state of Rhode Island nor the United States, which I just showed you with the 13th and 14th Amendment. I am a descendant of a Moor, which means I'm a Moor. I have nationalized, which means my allegiance is to Morocco, not the United States. Therefore, any issue between the state of Rhode Island and myself or my organization is to be dealt with in federal court, i.e. consular court, according to the treaty. So this is just, I just sent this to the Congress women so that they know what's going on. And then the newspaper article that was written about us in New Hampshire about them stealing our property, I also sent them this so that they can see that, which is dealing with third-party evidence because I didn't write this. You know, the link is also attached to the document, and this is from the Providence Journal, where the Providence police tried to deprive our rights, our constitutional rights, regarding our right to bear arms. Also, regarding the New Hampshire newspaper, here it's important to note that they mentioned the Southern Poverty Law Center. So they said the Southern Poverty Law Center labels the Moorish Americans as extremist groups, citing acts of violence allegedly carried out by its members. That's a label Bay rejects. So I remember was his name Todd? Yeah, his name was Todd. I'm pretty sure his name was Todd. He works for the New Hampshire Sun, I guess that's what they are. I don't know. But this newspaper company, he works for them. He ended up calling us, and I did an interview with him. Oh, yeah, see, my name's right there. Jamal Tulibadula Bay. Right, so it says, I reject the Southern Poverty Law Center's BS claims, because that's just FBI COINTELPRO agents. And I argued that, you know, we frequently use the federal legal system to solve our issues. So how can we be known for acts of violence if we're going straight to court? Which, you know, there's proof of that, right? And then I put that right there. We don't threaten anyone. We don't go to war with anyone. We go straight to court. And this is proof because they had a picture of our lawsuit in the front of their newspaper article. And then again, you know, blah 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 blah. And then I attached this from the state of Georgia, where they recognize Moors as a separate nation, which deals with Article 4, Section 1. Full faith and credit shall be given to the United States and the proceedings and journals of one state. And, you know, judicial opinions of any judges in one state is applicable everywhere. So if the state of Georgia recognizes as Aboriginal Indigenous with a separate theocratic government regarding the issue of diversity, then every other state must recognize that, as well as the federal government, especially since we have a treaty with them that deals with this very issue. So again, this is a copy. This is a certified copy. This is a copy of the certified copy. This is the original certified copy from the state of Georgia. And again, you can find this on riseofthemoors.org. And again, here's the mail showing you who that I sent it. And you know, these 3 congresswomen did videos on the counterintelligence program. So since they were so open about it, I decided to let them know who we are and what we do. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your support. If you want to see this document, again, go to riseofthemoors.org, click on public information, and you'll see it there. Peace. Sorry about the video footage. I was reading it and holding it with one hand, so I apologize. Peace.